Welcome back to the Circuit Revival, where today we're going to be taking a look at another Nintendo Switch. Now, this one is not in the best state, really. You can see just on the screen here, there's some marks. It looks like maybe like a dog has bitten it, and it's missing kind of most of the external screws here. So we'll see what's happened. Clearly, someone's been in it before. Even the screw that holds in the SD card slot is missing. So probably going to be an interesting one, this one. But we'll get it under the microscope first of all and have a look at the USB port to see what's wrong there. If that looks okay, we'll then plug our ammeter in it, which should hopefully help us sort of start to diagnose what might be the problem. So if we just jump over to the microscope, and this here is the port. So it actually looks all right. So it doesn't fill me with confidence if someone's been in it and the port looks okay. Because normally that means that there's a bigger problem. You can see there should be screws there, and then we have the same issue on the top just here, missing the screw. So you can start to see the bite marks there. They do look like a dog or something has bitten into this. Okay, so before we start to get this open, then what I suppose we'll do is we'll have a look and see what it does with our ammeter. So if we look just up here, there is some figures. What we're sort of hoping to see with this is it go up to 15 volts, the amps go up and then come back down. But we'll plug this in now that we know the USB doesn't look too bad and see what we get. Okay, could be nothing, or might just need to swap this around. It only reads it one way, so let's try this the other way. And we get 15 volts, it goes up and then idles at 0.1 amps. Oh, we have a charging symbol. So I wonder whether this is just in a bad state. Okay, well, I'll leave this to charge up and see what it does and see if there's any other problems, but it at least turns on. Okay, the charge has gone off, there's a reset, and we have a boot screen. And then we've jumped up to the fast charging. So screen works. There's a lot of profiles on this. Let me just get the Joy-Cons from the other video. I'm still yet to fix these. We'll just see if these attach. Okay, the left one attaches. Right one attaches. The left one's a bit... To be honest, I think that's actually the Joy-Con, not the Switch. So if we go down to System Settings, and let's just test the touchscreen. Okay, touchscreen works. Can't quite see that, but there you go. I'll just try to see if this connects to the internet. Okay, just trying to connect to the internet. That's connected. Okay, just need to probably get a different Joy-Con to test with, because this Joy-Con is a bit hit and miss. Okay, so this just works. So let's take a look at these Joy-Cons, because they need some new analog sticks, and then this left one, the the L top button here doesn't work, and the rail's a bit hit and miss. It's a bit temperamental. So let's get these open and have a look, and I'll show you how disgusting these are as well. Look at that. Isn't that disgusting? So that's one of the screw posts. There's that one. The bottom ones are all right. Just take a look at those pins in there. So they might just need a clean to get them to work properly, but then look at the gunk in that joystick there. So what we'll do then is we'll get these open and we'll have a go at fixing these. So I've got a pack of joystick replacements that we'll try, and we'll see where we get to. What's that left one? That's a grin. Hold it down with it. Okay, that should just up upwards. We'll just start by getting the battery out. So these have a little bit of adhesive underneath it, so you just need to prise it up, and then you can kind of give them just a bit of a pull to get them out. Then just a few more screws to undo. Just unpin. We'll just unpin these ribbon cables as well. So there's one here, so if we just lift up the gate, and then that can pull out. And then the other one, you can get just the lid of the gate just in here, I think. Yeah, so you can just reach down in there. You can see there's a black line that'll lift that up, and then this one I think needs to lift up and out, and then that will just get that back cover out of the way. We've just got one more screw in here to undo. I believe we should be able to lift this plastic bit out of the way. Okay, we can immediately see maybe why the button doesn't work. If you look just here, this here is the L button that should be attached to the board, and as you can see, it's completely broken off. So that's why that doesn't work. So we'll just flick this gate up so we can get this cable out, and then we just need to be cautious of the spring and the button there. So this will need a good clean up because there's gunk all in and around there, but we'll put that off to the side for now as well. And there is the outside bracket of the actual switch. So the switch has completely come apart. So let me just swing the microscope around so you can see this. So here we are under the microscope again. So there is the outside gate of the switch. There's the button and the actual contact for it, and there is the base of it. We'll take a look at the base here, and I think actually that might be able to be resoldered back on. We'll have to have a look at the board to see how that looks on the board, because here's the board, and you can see those traces are like completely snapped off. Let me get this into focus. Completely snapped off in there. But there's a chance we might still be able to reattach this, because the mounting points are there, and there's still a bit of the traces left, which you can see on the bottom of here. So there's a chance we might be able to get this back together. So if we get our switch, and we need the contact on it still, so hopefully they stay together. Let me just get some finer tweezers. If we try and lift this up, hopefully it'll keep the contact with it. We'll get the contact. These come apart here, it's not too bad. There we go. So we just need to try and get the contact back in there. And then this will sit on top. And that still clicks, that's good. And then we just need to try and get this clamp back around the outside of it and try and bend it back into place. So it's got two little dots on the bottom here, so you can see it's keyed to which way round it goes. Okay, that's pretty close. It's keyed into one side. Can we get it keyed into the other? So close. There we go. Let me try and bend these legs back around to clamp it in place. Okay, I'll try and add some pressure, try and clamp that back in. You can see where it needs to bend back around, but I think because the outside is still all a bit bent, it doesn't work. So what I might try and do is see if I can just get some, like a tiny amount of super glue on it, and then hold it in place to close it off. There's a tiny amount on there. We'll try to hold this together and see if it works. See if I can just add some in the gaps as well. Okay, yeah, we'll just hold this together and see if it just goes off correctly and see if it holds itself together. Okay, it's not the prettiest, but I think it's still on there. If we like roll this around a bit, it's not coming off. Like, yes, it's not down flat, but as long as the button still presses, that's all that matters. So that might just work. Just hopefully the glue doesn't do anything silly when we try and heat it back up onto the board, because we're going to have to try and super glue it back onto the board as well to be able to then reattach the contacts. So next we just need to get the actual Joy-Con itself, the actual analog stick out, so we can flip this gate up and pull out this connector here, and then it's just these two screws, this one here and this one just underneath here, so we need to pull this out of the way first of all. It's quite interesting. I've taken apart a few different Joy-Cons in the past and they all seem to have a slightly different setup inside. And then just this screw here. And then you can see the old Joy-Con pops straight out. What we'll do is we'll give that a bit of a clean up first before we put the new one in, because that is disgusting. So I'm going to use some IPA cotton swab just to try and gather all of that nastiness in there. And those like plastic rings in there, I'll probably replace that, most of the rings attached to. And then also try and get some of these gaps as well. And I'll just get my replacement. There. And then if I remember correctly, it's a little bit finicky to get through the gap to begin with, so you have to try and put it at an angle and then just see it through. I'll just get this ribbon cable out of the way, because that wants to be on top. And then we can just get those screws back in. Can push that in. We just need to reseat our cables. Just a bit stiff. Just put the cable back down and then we can redo this one. Cool, and that is the Joy-Con replaced, and you can see it looks much better. We might need to still get just a bit of cleaning in underneath it, but it looks significantly better than it did before. If anything looks a bit too good, it makes the buttons look a bit horrible. So what I think we'll do then is we'll just park that one off to the side for now, and we'll come back and look at the button afterwards. But let's just get this other one opened, and we'll get the Joy-Con replaced on this one. And then you can see that's how the button should look. It should be attached on top, and it works perfectly there. Okay, then next we've just got these two screws here to undo. So if we undo the ribbon cable first, so we can just flick this gate up. This pull out, and then we can undo the two screws. That's one. That's the second one. You can get a new Joy-Con, and then again we'll give this just a little clean up. Just inside here. Excellent. Get it the right way around, and then we can just see it through. Get our first screw in. And just reseat the cable. You'll be surprised how many times I've done stuff like this and then forgotten to put the cable back in and wondered why it doesn't work. Okay, everything still functions on that one, so we'll give this one a test in a little bit, but for now, let's go back to the absolutely knackered board. Okay, so you can see here where we need to reattach our switch to. So just sit on the board there. We'll try and see if we can get this in place. Okay, and that's where it needs to sit. Okay, we might actually be able to get the side point soldered on. So the ground points might actually be on there, and it's just the three contacts that need doing. So I'm going to turn my soldering iron on, and I'll try and see whether we can get this attached. So I've got a board up here that should hopefully allow me to hold this in place a bit better because it's magnetic. Okay, there we go, that's back in place. Now I just need to get some solder on my iron and hopefully try and tack that down before it moves. So I'll try and use my left hand to hold this in place. Apply a bit of pressure downwards and then try and add some solder to the sides here. Let's try the other side. Okay, so it's sort of held in place, but I think the glue is starting to come off of the outside there, and I'm not sure whether the mounting point on the right here is actually still there, because that's still moving. So we might just need to try and super glue this in place. So I'll try and get some super glue. If we can get that bent back round, that will hold it in place, and then we can kind of just solder mask it down in place afterwards, but we just need to try and get some glue. Okay, for some reason I think that glue is just like set immediately, which is not great because I wanted to kind of push that around a bit more, but it might work. So what we need to do now is try and expose some of the contact here. I guess that's like one. We're down to the exposed copper there. What we try to tin that up. So our switch still functions and doesn't work anywhere at the moment. So this might work. We can't get around all this plastic, but go for it. So we're trying to get some flux in here. We're getting a lot. So hopefully some kind of those. There we go. And we're trying to tin up that newly exposed pad. Okay, maybe that's exposed. And then, yep, a big block on the contact. Not needed, but it'll do. And then we need to get a bit of wire. So this time we use some enameled wire. And we try and tack that onto both sides. So we'll start trying to get it onto the bottom here. Okay, so you can see we're down to the exposed copper there. And what we need to try and do is tin that up. So our switch still functions and does not feel like it's going anywhere at the moment. So this might work. It'll be quite hard to get in and around all this plastic, but we'll go for it. So we'll just try and get some flux in here. We don't need a lot, so hopefully this doesn't come out loads. There we go. Then we'll try and tin up that newly exposed pad. Okay, there we go, that's exposed. And then, yep, a big blob on the contact. Not quite as much as I needed, but it will do. And then we just need to get a bit of wire. So for this, I'm going to use some enameled wire. And I'm going to try and tack that onto both sides. So we'll start by trying to get it onto the bottom bit here. Now, I imagine we probably don't actually need all three contacts to be attached, but I don't know which ones do need to be, so I'll just do all of them. Might try spin this around, come in from the other side again. There we go, that's attached on that side. Okay, so I've got a sharp blade here, and I'm just going to try and cut this wire just a bit beyond where I need it to be. There we go. And what I'm going to do quickly to try and make this a bit easier so it doesn't come off is I'm going to use some solder mask on the top end there to hopefully hold it in place. Because what I don't want to do is then try and solder the bottom end of this and then the top end come back off. So I'm just going to put some solder mask down here, and then I'm going to apply it just onto the contact that we've attached. Try to be careful not to add it to all the other ones as well, because I still need to solder those. Okay, there's a bit on there. I'll get my UV light and we'll just cure that for now. Okay, so that's cured. So now what I need to do, try and come in and solder just the bottom bit onto that newly exposed part. You can see where it was moving there. If I didn't have that done, it probably would have come off on the other end. Okay. That looks a bit better. Let's try that. No, still not quite there yet. I don't know whether some of this solder mask is in the way of the actual contact. Let's try just a bit more solder. No, that's broken off. Okay, I think I might just need to try a thinner wire, which is fair, but it's just a bit harder to work with. Okay, let's try that again then. Let's try and get some solder mask on there this time. Try not to cover as much, which shouldn't be too bad this time because the wire is a lot thinner. Yeah, you can still see the bit we need is exposed. I may have slightly covered up the pin next to it though, so we might need to scratch some of that back afterwards, but we'll just get this cured to begin with. Okay, that looks like that's done there. Let's try and just get the bottom bit soldered on, and then we should be able to break. Okay, that's attached now. So we might be able to just wiggle this. Okay, that's that done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that with solder mask as well now, just so that that one doesn't come off when we do the next one. And then I'm just going to repeat through that for the last two. It's not the prettiest job. I've melted bits of plastic here and there, but given how small the area is, I don't think it's gone too badly. So we'll just cover this up. And then I'll try and get a bit more all the way sort of around it as well, because it should hopefully help add a bit of strength to it on top of it. So we'll add all of that. I'll just get the curing device on there, and then we'll get this back together. Okay, it feels like it's clicking, but I wouldn't say it's the most confident click I've ever felt. Probably the way I'd describe it. But let's get this screwed back in place, and okay, additionally, this post here where it's melted doesn't fit quite right into place, so I'm just going to try and trim the outside of it, which is the bit that doesn't fit. So hopefully it should fit back into its post. That should allow this to close properly. Okay, that now fits close, so it's still not quite there. Oh no, it's fit in place there now. As I say, it doesn't have a particularly satisfying click to it, but it certainly does click. So we'll test and see if it still works. But we'll get this back together and then we'll get it plugged in to test. Okay, so we're all back together. Let's give this a test then. So we have our switch, which is still working. Does our right controller still connect? It does, but it's doing weird things. And then our left controller is also doing strange things. Okay, let's go down to controllers and sensors. We'll test input devices, test controller buttons. Okay, we still... Okay. We have no click on the right one. We do on the left. But we still have no L button, which is not... Oh, it's there. Actually, it is there. It's just like I say, it's a bit spongy. So if we come out, go back in. So it's working fine. It's just a bit spongy. So let's just try and see if we come out of this. Are these still... Okay, so the right controller, it is connecting there, but it's still sort of flicking off to the side. Thing to keep trying to pull over to the side. It might just be that our cable's not sat correctly. So that this cable doesn't look like it's actually been sat very well, so I think that might actually be the problem. It's slightly off to the side, so let's come out and go back in. Okay, that looks a bit straighter now. Okay, so we're all back together again. Let's give this another test then. So, right controller connected. Left controller connected. And it's not going... Oh, no, it still is going mad. So it could just be a bad Joy-Con there. Okay, what we'll do then is let's get this open one last time. I'll try one other replacement joystick and see if that works. Okay, so we're all back together here and that connects fine and is no longer flying around the screen. So we'll just go down to test input devices again. And we'll just check whether they center properly. Yep, so that one's fine. Okay, so I was just testing a few bits there. You saw I was trying out the control and stuff. So my camera died, but we've reset it back up. But we're all working now. So we've tested all the buttons on the Joy-Cons. You saw that they were working. We replaced the 2 analog sticks, which are all good. And we've replaced the L button on the left Joy-Con, which, although a bit spongy, still works. And if you look at the screen now, you can see it's not flying all over the place. So we class this one as a win. So that makes this 14-5. So we've been on a good streak so far, especially with the switches. We had a few bad ones, but we'll see you in the next one. And thanks for watching.